Welcome to Board Game Breakfast, everyone. I'm Roy Canning.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
And it is Monday, and we're back here pumping things out with the Dice Tower. We do want to say thank you to everyone who supported us on our Dice Tower Kickstarter.
Very much so.
That was amazing.
We appreciate it.
You're all great. And we also want to make a shout out for Dice Tower West. This is a convention that we run out in Las Vegas. Lots of game playing, gigantic board game library, lots of little events. We're going to be there, and it'd be awesome if you were there too. There are still tickets available.
Right.
But yeah, it's really crazy, great time.
Yeah, so that's probably the next big event we have going on. But for February, it's kind of more chill, I think.
Yeah, we get to have like a normal week this week.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Knock on wood.
February is awful. It's the worst month ever.
The month of love, Chris.
What are you going to do for me for Valentine's Day?
Nothing.
This,
Same thing I did last year.
this time of year is always interesting in board gaming because it feels almost like a lull of not as, because like end of the year is always like new game heavy, Essen, Gen Con, blah, blah, blah. Like this time of year, it's always like, okay, a couple games come out here and there. But this really gives you a good time to like catch up on all those games that you've been wanting to play in your collection.
Right, also gives you a little
Yeah.
breather from backing too many things on Kickstarter.
Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah, there's just, February's kind of like, whew.
I
little bit
think that's
quiet.
the opposite of that though, because this is the season where they start ramping up a ton of crowdfunding campaigns. Everybody's like, hey, people are getting their tax returns in. Let's do crowdfunding campaigns.
Let's steal taxes.
No, that's not how it works.
That's
It's
what board game publishers are
returned.
saying.
They didn't owe them.
Says Roy
Stealing
Canada.
taxes. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, my eye catcher for this week is Nucleum Australia. And so Joey's wife's from Australia, so that's why I picked this. No, it's not actually. I really enjoyed Nucleum.
You told me that was why.
I know.
I'm deleting this page.
I would
Okay.
play this if it was Nucleum New Zealand.
New Zealand.
That would actually be
They
more-
would be so offended.
It would actually just,
So
it would sound
offended.
better, Nucleum New Zealand.
That's too many N's. Too much alliteration for me.
Too much new.
I like alliteration,
Right.
obviously.
Cult,
So this is-
Cult of the New Zealand.
So this is an expansion, and as you can see, there's ships in this one. Ships! I don't know how the ships are going to work because typically you're trying to lay out tracks and you get bonuses for, or benefits for lining up tracks that are the same color as the other tracks next to them or the cities next to them. So I'm curious if you have to create the shipping lanes or if they're already there. So it's an expansion, so it adds a new map of Australia, and then you have the boats. And then apparently you can build your own coal factories, which sounds fascinating because in the original Nucleum game, you start with one coal factory that everybody, like that's the only power plant in existence in the board game. And then progressively over time, all these other power plants start to nuclearize. And so I'm just very curious how it's going to work.
Have they updated the combat mechanics in this one?
Yeah, definitely. You crash trains into each other.
I mean, I would be in.
Whereas you build up your own coal mines, you know, the combat mechanism is getting the children into their work uniforms and down the shafts.
I feel sorry
Yep.
for Zatanna. Anyway.
So that's Nucleum Australia. I'm excited about that one.
Nice.
Kids these days have it easy. All right, my eye catcher was this article here. A sequel to the best board game ever, No Really, is coming. I don't really understand the no really in context of this headline.
Isn't it still number one on BGG?
I guess it's because it's #1 on BGG, so they think that it's the best board game ever.
Maybe it's
is.
because this website's called wargamer.com.
Oh.
And they're like, oh yeah,
Wargamers love brass. The combat mechanics, obviously.
exactly. You crash
Crashing
them trains.
trains.
So yeah. So there have been some Board Game Geek thread discussions, basically confirming, Roxley is working on a third brass game, which I'm excited about, and also like a little bit hesitant because
The other one's such a hit, right?
that
That's
one's
the
such a
thing
hit.
is-
Yeah.
There are very few games out there. Sorry, my voice is weird. There are very few games out there that you have an original that was good and then a second version was amazing. And that's the thing is Birmingham is amazing. So I'm like, can you really beat that?
Well, wasn't it Lincolnshire was good and Birmingham is amazing? Isn't that exactly
Yeah,
what you just said?
Lincolnshire's the original game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
so-
that's the thing is like the follow-up was amazing. So I'm like, if you follow up the follow-up,
It's got
Can
to
it?
It's got to get even higher.
can it though?
It's got to be #0 on Board Game Geek. Wait,
Can
is
it?
that -1? I don't
Looking
know
for the
how.
zeros.
What?
This is
How high does
sounding
Board Game
bad.
Geek go? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. Kevin, like, well, yeah, but what's the location for the new brass sequel? Pittsburgh? If you
Australia.
If you ask Joey, it would be Brass Birmingham, Alabama. You know, that would be
Nice.
that'd be fascinating. I don't know. I'm curious what it, what it could be or whatever. But I at this point have a lot of trust in the Roxley team.
Right?
Like,
Yeah,
they
their
haven't-
stuff is solid.
They haven't had a miss in years. Well, I'm trying to think if they. I don't know if they've had like a real like miss. You know what I mean? I haven't played steampunk race game, but other than that, I've enjoyed pretty much everything they've come out
Yeah,
with.
and their stuff is so quality.
It really is.
And that's the other thing too, is that this has been years in the making. Like they didn't just like pump out another brass. You know what I mean?
Right.
It came out 2018.
Milk that cash cow, baby.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. They're taking the time, unlike certain Nucleum Australia expansions.
Hey, don't diss on my Australia expansion. I'm excited.
I looked up at the monitor and I was like, why am I on a page about a boot? No, I'm not.
Boot advertising.
Ad bloggers.
Okay, so for my eye catcher, I've been watching a lot of reviews for the Vision Pro or whatever, which is Apple's new spatial computing thing. And I was shocked by like how well it's actually been received by a lot of people, just because it's like very innovative. It's extremely expensive, but
Is
one of the
spatial computing different than VR?
it's basically kind of like augmented reality and VR, but they say how smooth it works makes it feel almost magical, and they feel like they say this product is not like the best thing out there, but they're like, oh, well, in the future, I can see this really going somewhere. But some of the interesting stuff I saw in some of these reviews is I actually looked this up and found it, but I saw someone playing chess with the thing and being able to do that in VR. And I know people have been able to do Tabletop Simulator in VR and stuff like that as well for a while, but just interesting, like being able to use VR and augmented reality to throw a virtual game on the table and being able to do that. It'll just be interesting to see in the future how people are able to interact with making things pop up. Like if they get like Apple Vision all the way to where it's just your glasses, then they can overlay anything over cards. They can overlay 3D models over. Every single game could look like Brass Birmingham Deluxe Edition. You just press the Deluxe Edition upgrade and all your game just immediately pops up out of the table. I just thought it was interesting just because I saw videos. And actually the review video I saw was actually even cooler than this because he was actually grabbing the chess pieces. Because with the Vision you can kind of pinch anywhere. But he was pinching on the chess pieces and moving them. And it looked really cool, like something I hadn't really seen as far as like VR goes. Because
Interesting.
with like the Oculus and all the other VR things, you use controllers,
Yeah.
Right.
Which is very different than the Apple, which you literally use your hands, and it's very good at detecting that stuff.
Nothing quite feels like playing a board game like doing this with like a, where's the ZL button?
Exactly.
With the
It's
giant-
just so difficult. And
giant
the fact of
controllers.
the fact that Vision it works on whatever you look at. Like the fact that even in this video, they're looking at things and pinching here, but they're looking at something over there. Which, if board gamers are too lazy to reach across the table, now you don't have to do that. You can like move your pieces by just looking at things like this.
My favorite part of this video is like they're playing this game on this like $3,500 piece of equipment,
Yes.
and yet people,
Battleship!
and people still have their phones out. If I paid this much money, I'd be like, put your phones away. We're playing.
Maybe they need the phone to even be able to see what's going on here.
Maybe, yeah.
Because
Maybe
they
they're
could be
following-
playing the game on the phone, and then somebody else could be playing it in VR. Because not everybody around that table can afford that crazy, crazy, crazy expensive first generation clunky thing.
That would be so sad. You're sitting there like hacked into the net. You're running, and the person next to you is playing like Board Game Arena on their phone. Like, Chris, hurry up, take your turn. So many options.
To be fair, I think that the Vision Pro is terrible for value currently, but
It was like $10,000 for the family 4-pack.
it's just interesting that the implications for the future of board gaming in some ways.
That's why I 100% agree with you.
Right.
Yeah,
It's funny because I have zero interest in that. Like
Right.
whatsoever. Zero
right.
interest.
But if it was in your glasses already, and it could pop up,
Yeah.
Like we
it's
talked
a
about.
completely different thing.
Like we talked about, maybe we'll try out the Dominion app and sit on the couch when we're lazy one day and just like play Dominion with each other. But
Right.
if we already have our glasses and we're like, you want to play Brass Birmingham, but not want to set it up?
And you just make it pop up. And a lot of people in those reviews said it feels like that, which is wild. But who knows? Anyway, that was just why it was an eye catcher, just because I thought it was weird.
Can I call it Jarvis?
Sure.
You can call it whatever you want, just don't call me late for dinner. Let's
Probably
move along.
Yeah, let's go.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm here to talk to you about a game that I don't know how to pronounce the name. It's written in the rulebook like it's supposed to be Hooga, but I call it Huggy. It's effectively the rethemed version of a Sashi and Sashi game before the guests arrive. Instead of tidying up the house, you are trying to collect these items and get these animals to hold the items when they're hibernating or something like that. The big thing in this is you're taking from a market, this central market of cards, an entire row or an entire column. And that, at times, gives you a really good or bad choice to make. I need those red items to go with my red animal, which has paw prints, so he can hold those items. But if I take that, I'm going to get some green items as well, and I can't get rid of them. Because at the end of the game, the cards you've banked, they're going to get you points, but the cards left in your hand, they're going to lose you points, potentially 2 points if they're an animal with 2 paw prints. It's a very sort of chilled out game as you're just sort of leisurely taking from the market. I have enjoyed more at 2 players, because then you can kind of much easier remember what the other player has been going for. You've been collecting a lot of those red cards. It would be a shame if I took the only red animal from the market. To add a little extra fun, you don't know when the end is coming, because this Winter is Coming card is shuffled into a selection of cards at the bottom. So you don't quite know if it's going to come out or not when the deck is getting small. Anyway, that is a game I can't pronounce, Huggy Hooga, not entirely sure, that I've had a lot of fun with this week from Helvetique, and that is that. So enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
Hello and welcome to Trending Mechanisms, and today we're going to do something special. We're going to look at all the games released in 2023 and compare the different mechanisms and categories in a game of higher and lower. So I'm going to do 3 questions, record your score, and if you get all 3 of them, post in the comments below, okay? Okay. The first question, our seed mechanism, is trick-taking. There were 173 games released in 2023 that was tagged with trick-taking. But what about roll and move? Do you think that that amount is higher or lower? You got 5 seconds on the clock. Higher or lower? Oh, and time's up. It's lower. 100 games is recorded with roll and move in the Board Game Geek database of 2023. Okay, what about roll and rights? Do you think that that is higher or lower than 100 games? 5 seconds on the clock. Higher or lower? And time's up. It's higher. 126 games. So, third question and last. What about solo-only games? The player count is solo-only. Is that higher or lower than 126? Higher or lower? And time is up. It's higher. 278 games. So, if you want to look on the slides of this segment or any of my segments, you can go to bggstats.wordpress.com. Otherwise, have a nice breakfast and a happy new year.
What we do here is go back.
Is it the wrong one?
Well, we'll just...
We're doing old school games now.
You want to do that, or you want to do the top 10? Play the wrong intro.
Let's do old school.
We should do that one because I just pressed the wrong button, I guess.
Okay.
You know.
Old school game time.
Listen, it's a new order every week.
Right, it's a new world order. Hashtag Captain America. No, it's not called that anymore. What's it called now? Brave New World?
It's called Time's Up.
It's Time's Up.
Hey.
All right, so our old school game today, Time's Up. This is a party game that gets a lot of love here at the Dice Tower, and also just kind of generally speaking.
We just got a family edition, too, that's now added to the library.
That's true,
So
yeah.
we have 2 versions of basic Time's Up and a family.
Do we have Time's Up and then Time's Up Title Recall and now Family Edition? Is that what it is?
Something like that.
Okay. So This is a game that also has been kind of like a public domain game. We've played it as names in a hat, or people call it fishbowl, or whatever. So basically, you have a bunch of cards with people's names on them, and then you break into teams. One person starts with a timer. They start pulling out cards, trying to make their teammates guess that person, and everyone that you get correct, you just keep out. At the end of that round, at the end of 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever, you pass the bowl or the hat or the deck of cards along, and then the other team goes. You just kind of keep doing that until you've exhausted all of the names for the round, and then you play 2 more rounds after that.
Right.
Second round is
1 word.
1 word only, right? And then third round is charades.
Yep.
So the idea of this game works because...
They're the same words over and over and over again.
Yeah, so all 3 rounds,
Right.
exactly. So what do y'all think of this one?
So this is a weird game where, like, I hate the first round of Time's Up. Like, I extremely dislike trying to guess people that I don't know or different things. It's like some actor or something. But then I love the last round of Time's Up. After everybody kind of knows what it is. I don't know who this person is, but I do know that being like, "Wah, ah, ah, ah," means that person, you know? And it just makes it wacky in these interesting moments where it almost creates like a meme in and of, like, around that thing, you know? I mean, I have games from a retreat like 2 years ago where it was like, Pac-Man and like Wakanda Forever or whatever, and like for some reason we like mixed that together. It was like somebody was doing like this or something, and they're like, is that Pac-Man or is that Wakanda Forever? I don't know. And we said like Waka Waka Forever, you know. It was just strange. It was just weird memes and like things that come up from you doing the same things over and over again. But I hate the first round of this.
It's funny because I've never played the actual board game version. I've always just played the homebrew version. Yeah.
How long have you been with the Dice Tower?
I don't know. I've never been in one of the plays where we actually end up playing this game.
We do it so many times.
And so I play this all the time. Well, I guess not all the time, but in college I played this all the time, where you written everything.
Yeah.
And so it was people that were really popular right now in the world. You know what I mean? In the zeitgeist and stuff.
Now when I played... You're like, you introduced this game to me, I think. Or I was introduced to it like later in life, and someone was like, no, I don't think it was you. But someone was like, write names of famous people. And I was like, I don't know, Brink, like the Soul Skater guy from the Disney Channel original movie or whatever.
Oh, man.
And so I just threw names, and all of a sudden everyone else was pulling out like celebrities and actors and stuff. And someone looked at mine and just like ended the round.
Just put it back.
Yeah.
So what was weird is I played this with a bunch of teenagers over Christmas, the Christmas holiday. And I specifically said, like, write down names that everybody here would know. And we still got so many weird, like, obscure animes that only one girl knew. Like, she wrote down stuff that nobody else knew. And then another one of the adults wrote down all of these things that were popular when she was a teenager. That, of course, you know, we're like, okay, well, this is 20 years later. Like, nobody knows these.
For me, I do get that awkwardness of when like you're trying to like describe something and you're describing it in a weird way, and then everybody figures out what it was. They're like, "How did you not know what that is?" I'm like, "I don't know what it is." You know, it's just like makes me feel bad a little bit. But then later on in the other rounds, it's like, okay. It doesn't matter that I don't know what it is. It's just funny when people refer to that as that, and you do learn a little bit about different characters or different people as people are like, "Oh yeah, that's that thing from this person." It's like, "Oh okay, I didn't know that." You know, it's kind of interesting.
The one saving grace to that, when like it's so if you homebrew it, right, you are writing the names. If you are doing the printed edition Time's Up, you're dealt like a certain number of cards. You're dealt like 6 cards, you pick 3 of them to go. It's something along those lines, right? I forget the exact numbers.
Yeah.
So what that means is, you have the chance of being like, this group isn't going to get Fred Astaire, right? So I'll chuck that one. But the other incidental benefit of that is that it means that one person knows at least those 3 cards.
Right.
Unless you get dealt all cards, you have no clue what they are.
But like, I'm just saying, like,
you know what they are.
Know what that is. I'm like, I don't know.
That is true.
Yeah, I don't know who Fred Astaire is, but he's going in.
Right.
And
You
the
just
moment that
guess
someone
it every
goes,
time.
the moment that someone goes,
rhymes with red. You know, then you're like Fred. You know,
shares the name with the Flintstone guy. You're like, Fred Astaire. Let's move on.
Yeah.
You know. But,
So the family edition is interesting because it's not names, it's objects. And so it's like normal everyday objects that you're trying to figure out.
yeah.
interesting.
Which makes sense because like young kids don't necessarily know a bunch of famous people. They don't know a bunch of
I don't know a bunch of famous
yet.
people
Like
because
Bernie
they don't
Mac?
matter.
Right, right.
They don't matter.
General
Hashtag birds
George
aren't real.
Custer.
Hashtag, like, I don't know. Like, what does it matter? Like, why do I need to know all these famous people that aren't me?
Yeah.
They're not Chris, so why do I
Yeah.
need to know them?
I love the people in the chat sharing their stories of awkward times up moments. I shan't read some of them aloud,
Yes,
but
Time's Up is crazy.
It
sometimes.
is. It is. It is.
yeah, there's definitely some very funny and awkward things that happen when you play this game in public, like at a convention, and you're like, you know, doing the pantomime round, the acting out thing, and you're like, I'm doing this in public, but it's going to make my team guess it. So yeah, no, I enjoy Time's Up quite a bit. Yeah, a lot of appreciation for this one. I give it
It's a good fun
apparently
game.
an 8.
Hey.
I had forgotten what my score
I'd
was.
probably give it
Higher
like
than the
a
average, Chris. Good job.
7, I think.
7.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's fine.
What would I give it?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably an 8.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, there you go. Our old school game from 1999. Time's Up.
Hi everyone, it's Stella and this is Taryn from Maple University when we have Deep Dive from AEG. It's a quick game, plays up to 6 players. It's a push your luck game with penguins.
Yes, that's the best description for it. You've got 5 sets of tiles that get more and more dangerous. You send your penguin down, you're trying to find high scoring food, and you're trying to find sets of food. So to score the most, you want to have an equal number of foods of each of the 3 colours, because any incomplete sets only score half of their points. The deeper you go, the higher the scores, but the deeper you go, the more likely a shark is going to...
Predator, yeah.
Shark or a
Eat
sea
you.
lion or something is going to
Not eat, you play.
inconvenience your penguin for a few turns.
Yes, you can actually take all of your 3 penguins back once all of your penguins got inconvenienced by predators, and you get like a small bonus. You can get a tile from the death level that you retrieve your penguins from, one of those. It is a fun game. It is a push your luck. It's a light, kind of like a meetup game for us.
Yeah, very much so. It's not going. You're not going to put your whole night around it, but it's a great little filler.
Yep, that is Deep Dive. Did you play it? Maybe you have. Let us know as well. And thanks for watching. See you next time.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're going to look at Penny Arcade, the card game.
A turn of the game is going to equal 3 things. The first thing you can do is you can play a stuff card. The stuff card will have a green border on it. The second thing you do on your turn is play a hijinks card, which is the blue bordered ones. In this case, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and rearrange them in any order. In order to play a hijinks card, I must have at least this much intellect in order to play it. The last thing I do on my turn is play an attack card, which will be signified by the red. In this card, discard the top 2 cards of your deck. If you discarded a success, your opponent may not block this attack. This little icon would signify a success. So I have successfully attacked, and they cannot block this. So he would take this much damage, which would be 3, and I'll continue to play until he's or I am out of health.
Here, so it has a CCG roots, and I think it comes across here in this game in particular, but it is just kind of a brawling card game where you're going back and trying to win a watch. And I think the jokes and the time period and the IP are going to come through with the cards and the words and the artwork that are on it. I think all that's going to play into it. Then you have like this simple battling game on top of it, which fits into the universe very well, I think. I think it fits in quite well. I think the card usage and some of the inside jokes are all going to be here, and I think that's going to be appreciated for fans of the source material. You're not going to get this grand game or something that's going to blow your socks off. Everything here is going to be familiar to you, especially if you've been playing games for a while. But the question is, the IP and the mechanisms match. Yeah, I think the battling comes through. I think the jokes are going to come through enough for fans of Penny Arcade. The game itself may let you down, but I don't think the IP or in the mechanism matching is going to be the part that lets you down at all. Mediocre game, but I do think the IP does come screaming through, especially if you know the jokes and get a lot of them. So, while not a game for me, if you're a fan of Penny Arcade, I think this is a game that you'll want to dive into and check out for sure.
Hey, a few weeks ago, at this point, several of the people in the office did a top 10 list, a big top 10 list, top 10 reasons they love board games. So I thought, why don't we just not have to be creative and just absolutely steal that idea?
100%. Let's
Cool.
do it.
In fact, I'm
Let's
just
do
going
it.
to steal all of their picks. My picks are all Z's picks.
Yeah, I realized
Oh, I
that
didn't
I
realize
also
we-
did this for Favorite Game Friday this last week. So, boom!
Hey!
We all
Hey.
talk about why we love board games.
I didn't know I was allowed to copy, man. I actually put real work into this.
No, I tried to pick ones that I think were a little bit different from what was discussed. So, my number 10 reason I love board games is it's something for me to nerd out about. And what I mean by that specifically is when I really get into something, like when I'm really into a band or music and stuff, I love, or like a genre of music, I love learning about a lot of the different bands. When I love a band, I love learning about who has been in their lineup, who's been their guitarists over the years. Have people switched in and out? Are they a very stable long-term band? When do their albums come out? I really like nerding out about those aspects. So like, hey, this designer I like, what has he done? What's his catalog? What's his back catalog? Who has he co-designed with? Who have they, who has she, how long has she been making games that like, oh my gosh, they go back way further than I realize. I love stuff like that. So my number 10, nerding out about stats.
You nerd about a lot of stuff.
Nice.
That's true.
I have number 9 here, and number 9 is I like board games very much juxtaposed to what I was talking about before with spatial computing in board games. I like board games because they're tangible.
They're tangerines?
I like being able to pick up the pieces and have this cool looking game and just all the cool components and being able to manipulate those around the board. And I don't know, I enjoy punching out a game like methodically and like enjoying that stuff and being able to set all the stuff up on the table and be like, we're gonna have an epic experience, an epic game here, and setting everything up and getting everything ready. And then just as you're playing the game, being able to move stuff around the board. Aesthetics are a very big part of games for me, and I like it when you have a really cool game on the table. So board games being tangible and cool looking is my number 9.
Nice. Before we
Nice.
move on, I forgot to mention, chat, go ahead and throw out your reasons why you love board games, and we'll throw one in at number 1.
That's right. Y'all get to be number 1. All right, what's mine, Chris? What order did I put it in? Oh, yeah. I get to try out a million different jobs. So I'm one of those people that variety is my favorite flavor. And it makes me feel like a little kid again playing with Barbies, where I get to, I get to be a Jarl of this great Viking clan, or I get to
That's
be
my favorite Barbie.
a real estate tycoon, or just something. Like there's so many different jobs that you can do and try out. And I can be, kind of like you love nerding out about something and like deep diving into things. I really like staying very surface and just being like, ooh, I wonder what it would be like to do this, and I wonder what it would be like to do this, and wonder what it would be like to do this. And so I get that variety, and I just get to like have a million different jobs, and it's fun.
A million different jobs, and they're all beige.
All right. Number 7, the reason I love board games is because this is an industry where amateurs, pure amateurs,
I should have never
thrive.
taken that picture.
And so I was like, I was debating what pictures do I want to put in here. I was thinking about
hilarious.
putting in even Klaus Teuber, right, designer of Settlers of Catan and several other great game, Domain and stuff. But obviously the whole line, the whole series of Catan, one of the most important games of our entire industry. And he was a practicing dentist the whole time. Like I don't think he ever left, as far as I know, right? I don't think he ever left his dental practice in pursuit of like full-time board game design. He wasn't
Right.
like a professor of mechanisms and research into what makes games fun and balancing. He just liked games. You know what I mean? You don't design games full-time. Most people don't design games full-time and make amazing games that we love.
That's true. That's true. And I think about like video games back in the 80s and how it was an amateur's, you know what I mean? Like if you had access to coding and computers and stuff and you could make those games, it's fascinating. But like this is so much more open than that was because you don't
Right.
have to have access to these really expensive machines.
Right.
Instead, you could just literally have like pieces of paper and cardboard and just do. But our industry's small enough that you can still do that.
There you go.
All right, that's number 7.
My number 6 is just, I spoke about this a teeny bit, but amazing experiences that board games create. I'm a very thematic gamer, and I just like it when you can like step away from whatever's going on in your current life, whether it's good or bad or whatever that would be, and just sit down at the table and just have amazing, interesting experiences and come together and have this like collaborative experience in a game. Like they can carry off to mystical lands. That's another reason why I like very much like space and fantasy crazy themes, because those are things that I can't do in real life. You know, I can't go to Ryan Lockett's world and talk to fish and pig people or whatever and have adventures and go sailing on a ship to fight off elder gods. You know, that sort of thing is like, it's just interesting to be able to be transported into these different worlds that all these different designers have created, and I really love the exploring of that, you know.
I call him Ryan Lockett every night, and I'm like, tell me more about Arzium.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He lulls me to sleep as he explains.
That's actually an app
While
on
he's
your
juggling?
Alexa.
While he's juggling. All right, Wendy, number 5.
All right, I love puzzles. Puzzles are so fun to me. And not necessarily jigsaw puzzles, those are fine. But I just love figuring out how things work. And once again, I love variety. And so being able to look at a game, not even necessarily like a polyomino game where you're physically like puzzling stuff together, but just really any game. Trying to understand how it works and how to create good systems and how to engine build and all that kind of stuff. That stuff just fascinates me. And so I love to be able to look at a new game and just be like, okay, how do I think I can make this, you know, make this efficiency engine and all that kind of stuff. I think it's so much fun. So I think that every game has a fun puzzle, even if it's not specifically a puzzly game. They're all great.
Yeah. Exercise your brain muscles like this. I forget the origin of this meme. I think she's like a Spanish language soap opera actress, and someone just like put the trigonometry over it. I'm like, thank goodness for that. I love this meme.
That's good.
All right. The number 4 reason is this is one of the easiest ways, like sitting at a game table with people, is to just put aside differences. You know, this is a screenshot of Dice Tower East, you know, and this isn't even the whole gaming area.
Yeah.
Thousands of people are getting together, hanging out, playing games, you know, for 5 days straight. The odds of those people liking each other, you know, anywhere outside of the game table, is a lot smaller than liking each other at the game table. And I love that. I love that, you know, halfway through a game conversing with someone, you're like, oh, you're an engineer by trade. Cool, I would have had nothing to talk to you about because you're clearly smarter than I am.
Who is it? Someone I was talking to sells humidifiers for cigars. Like that's their like their job, their career is like going to trade shows and selling humidifiers. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Cool.
That's crazy.
And if I had met that person on the streets, I would have beat them up and stolen their cigar humidifiers, right? But because you're at the game table, you put aside those differences, your petty squabbles, and you realize, hey, people are people. I love just.
I'm glad I play board games with Chris, so he doesn't have to fight me for random reasons.
Right?
Do you sell cigar humidifiers?
No.
Then you're safe, Roy.
Okay, well.
Number 3.
I'm glad that's the line. My number 3 is just the fact that like coming together around the table and playing games just helps build relationships. This was over the weekend. I ended up playing Magic Maze with Emma, and it's crazy because I played Magic Maze with Scotty and Violet a ton when they were little. But it was really cool to be able to show Emma this game and just being able to come together and like build relationships around board games, being able to play with your friends and family, and just being able to strengthen those like friendships you have. I mean, you're talking about playing with strangers instead of saying differences. I'm talking about playing with people that you already know and just building and having those shared experiences. I love that board games can help you put away the screens, put away the other stuff, and just spend time together. And whether you're playing a cooperative game and working together to build up stuff and figure out how we can solve this puzzle together, or whether you're playing a competitive game and be like, oh, well, maybe I can best you here, but it's all in good fun. You know, I love how board games help you build relationships with other people.
It's true. Chris and I have date night 4 nights a week, basically, because we're always playing board games together.
That's why we don't have to do anything for Valentine's Day.
That's right.
How romantic.
I really like chocolate.
You can play one of those chocolate board games, the ones that are made out of chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Eat the
like the
pieces.
Catan or whatever that did that once. It's okay.
I'll trade you all of this chocolate for all of your chocolate. Deal.
I'll buy my own Valentine's Day chocolate and then eat it while playing a game with you. Sound good?
Fine.
Okay.
Can I have some?
Yes.
Fine.
Wendy's always trading away all of her wheat chocolate.
All my wheat chocolate.
Because gluten.
Yep.
Yeah, I eat all the Kit Kats at home, and I'm okay with that.
All right, my last one is money, money, money. Must be funny in a rich man's world. I'm one of those people that just hyper stresses about money. Like, I keep just detailed information about all the money that we spend every month, you know what I mean, on spreadsheets and all of that. I'm just one of those people that stresses about money. But in a board game, it's not my money. I can just be like, hey, I'm gonna go buy these stocks. Oh, those stocks tanked. It didn't matter. And so I think it's fun to just be able to play with money. Plus, everything's really predictable, which is absolutely wonderful. Like, if the stock market really worked the way that it works in games, I would be rich, and it would be great.
Really?
Yeah. I love playing with money.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Well, so let's go over here to number 1, and I'm going to put up this comment, which is not actually the correct answer, but Jarl Barbie and Viken sound like an awesome set.
Oh, yeah.
No, I like this here. So Vanessa, woo! The comment got real small, Vanessa. Sorry. The comment, I don't know how to fix that. Anyway, the comment is, number reason I love games is the socialization that goes along with, with it. I've made great friends, some great friends because of board games. I think that's the thing. Is like, yeah, we're getting to meet people at conventions, getting to meet people at game days that we've gone to, and some of those relationships are like legit, like great friendships.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Who do I go back and visit in Vegas? Whenever we go back and visit, we visit our D&D group. You know.
Right.
We go visit the people that we played board games with. We go play with, like our Pandemic Legacy group. We go
and
visit
then
them.
my parents. Okay.
Oh yeah, family too, but.
You can have some of the most like long-lasting relationships just with the people you've played board games with, you know. And I mean, it's crazy to think some of the people that I grew up playing board games with, like my dad and like my friends from like church and like school and stuff like that, and the fact that like I still play board games with them, you know, whenever we're in town, you know, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So we have some close friends that we play Pandemic Legacy with, and so like the guy, we knew his brother and his brother's wife like really well, but then they kind of moved, and so we kind of adopted the younger brother and his new wife. And because we played Pandemic Legacy and because we were making like long-term decisions in this game, like we argued and stuff that you don't do with new friends, right? We like moved past all of that early, hi, we're really nice around each other, and we just were like, no, this is what I think in this game, this is what we should do. I just feel like it made our friendship deeper so much faster.
That's cool.
Because it mattered.
Hilarious. That's
Yeah.
true. All right. Well, there you go. These are our top 10.
Hello everybody and welcome to my segment, a board game in 1,000 pieces, but today with a twist. It's not a board game. It's not a puzzle. It is a very boring unboxing, as Tom would say, but let me just slip this already. So the thing is, I got a parcel from America, from the US. So let's have a look what's inside there. Ooh. Okay, that's awesome. Look at that. So, we've got a Dice Tower jigsaw. And ooh! Another! What's that? So, that is the one with the dinosaurs. That's so cute. So you will see them on the Board Game Breakfast segment someday. And we've got this one. So, Dice Tower, just to let you know, you can totally see the quality has improved. So, that quality is nicer than that. So, I backed the Kickstarter last year. I've got 3 new jigsaws and, I just got a notification. Guess who's backing the Kickstarter again? So, have a nice day, folks. Thank you. Bye-bye.
What's up, everybody? My name is Brent Shepard. I'm a middle-class board gamer, and this is today's Breakfast Balderdash. Now, last week our word was blenophobia. I said that this was a fear of blended drinks, but that's not actually the correct definition. Blenophobia is actually a morbid fear of slime. Oof. All right. So we had some other great definitions. Jeffrey78 said that it's the fear of small, cute mammals in their wily ways. Rexology BG said that it's the fear of blintzes, which is a nice thing to have for breakfast. I had no idea what that was, so I had to look up a picture. I'm going to put it up now. That's a blintz. Looks delicious. All right, and then Kabuki Kid said that it is a fear of having to change a tire on the side of the Cross Bronx Expressway on the driver's side with traffic whizzing by your back about 6 inches away. So those are some great definitions that we got for blenophobia. If you want to leave your definition for the word that I give today, go ahead and leave that. I'll pick some of those out either during the live stream or afterwards if you leave it in a comment after the live stream is over. I'll pick some of those out from both places and put them into the next board game breakfast. Or if you just want to say, hey, I think that is the correct definition, then go ahead and do that as well. Just put board game breakfast, correct definition, and we're ready to go. So today's word is scuppernong. Scuppernong. Now, if you don't know, scuppernong is a green grape that is grown in North Carolina. Yeah, that's right. This is for all the Tar Heels out there. A green grape grown in North Carolina. So is that the correct definition? I don't know. Have you got a better definition? Leave it below, all right? Thanks, guys. Enjoy your breakfast.
All right, our old school video, I decided, why don't we take a look at Tom, Sam, and Z's top 10 games of 2014 from 2014.
Wow.
So,
wow, they didn't even do it in
off here.
2015. They did it in 2014. I guess we always do that, don't we?
well, yeah, because
Like
I guess
December.
end of the December, end of the year. So
Oh, you just erased Vanessa.
Bye, Vanessa.
yeah, look at this. I mean, they had a whole drone shot
Yeah.
here.
Ooh, shiny.
They paid people to put the words 2014 up in the sky. So anyway, there they are. There's the old classic
Yeah.
trio. Hey, by the way, we hit the $380,000 stretch goal. So Sam Healy,
did.
as seen here, will be doing some videos part-time with us as well, remotely.
Yep.
So it's just fun to see. I mean, I remember watching these videos.
Oh, I wonder if this is
Onitama came out
I wonder
in
which
2014,
Onitama.
huh?
If this is actual like the original Onitama, or if it's the redone Onitama.
Or the
This
Arcane
is so
Wonders one.
early.
Wow, Tom looks
Yeah.
so young.
Yes. Yes, they do.
Zaya. Tom doesn't talk about Zaya anymore. Oh wait.
Yeah, this one was Tom's. So anyway, yeah, I found this interesting to kind of look at and be like, I wonder. So anyway, you scroll to the end of our top 10 lists. If you don't know this, right, you can kind of see what the different picks were. So Tom's his number one being Dice Masters is no surprise.
Yeah.
That's absolutely a Tom pick. Imperial Assault, Arcadia Quest, which, yeah, he didn't really talk about too much anymore. Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter was great back in the day.
Zaya, Spyfall, Battle of the Five Armies, Alchemist.
I miss the old Vassal. Straight from Korea Vassal.
Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Which he still likes. He talks about that deluxe one that came out recently. And then D&D Attack Wing, that died on the vine, right?
Right. Yeah, but I remember him talking about that a bunch.
Yeah.
It was literally X-Wing, but with D&D things, and I haven't seen that around anywhere in forever.
Sam's, Imperial Assault, Dead of Winter, Sheriff of Nottingham, not a surprise. King of New York, a little bit of a surprise. I mean,
People liked King of New York when it first came out, for sure.
Yeah, I think it just didn't have much longevity, right? Run, Fight, or Die, Legendary Encounters, Chaos Balls, Spyfall, Five Tribes, and Imperial Settlers.
Interesting.
Z, his number one being Five Tribes.
Oh yeah, that's obvious.
And then Deus, and this is a really good year for Z. Like, look at his
Right?
top five. Like, I feel like these are ones that he still talks about decently
for sure.
regularly.
Yeah.
Imperial Settlers a bit. I know Imperial Settlers have had several new versions,
Yeah,
basically, right? Onitama, Pandemic the Cure, the dice one.
Artificium, I remember that game.
No one else
Nice.
does. Yeah.
Medieval Academy just got remade.
Yeah, Kobayakawa. That made, I don't remember, Z put it on a list, on one of the
I
top 10 lists
don't
not
know
too
what
long
it
ago.
is.
Just a neat little, like, gambling game, basically. It's just gambling, but you use cardboard money instead of real. Yeah, so I thought this was interesting to kind of look back and see, like, man, what are the games that we still talk about and the ones that we don't? Do you have a favorite amongst all these, Roy? Zaya?
Zaya by far. Mike Heller said that Zaya's on his list of finally played this year. Do it. Let's do it.
Nice.
Make
yeah.
it happen. Even I've played Zaya.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah, Roy taught us.
Yeah, I had them come over and taught them how to play Xia. So
Yep.
pick up and deliver
I did
in
really
space.
like Pandemic the Cure. That's the dice version.
Yeah.
I liked that one.
I find that to be a very good, especially solo version of Pandemic. Still feels like Pandemic in some way. It still has like the general idea to cure the disease and stuff.
It fits on a much smaller table too, which is nice.
That it does. I find it easier to run multiple characters, play that one solo.
Yeah. I loved Dead of Winter so much. Like, that was a great, great game.
Yeah. I haven't played Mad King Ludwig in a while. I'd like to go back and play the original.
Yeah.
After playing the Roll and Write one recently.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like I said, Z's list here, bam, that's just so many solid games in a row.
Oh, yeah.
I think Z won 2014.
I vehemently disagree. I don't care about any of the games on Z's list except Onitama. Was
Wendy?
does that Pandemic the Cure?
Yeah.
No, garbage.
I've only played some of his. I've never played Abyss still. Still never
Tom's
played Abyss.
list for the win.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right,
Tom's
Wendy,
list
who are you
for
voting?
the
Are you voting
win.
for Sam?
Am I voting for Sam?
Yeah.
No.
He has Sheriff of Nottingham, your favorite
Probably
game.
Tom.
They both have Dead of Winter, you know.
Probably Tom. Though I haven't played a lot of his either.
Tom, look
I'm
at
voting
that
for specific games.
thematic list.
Right.
That's awesome. Battle of the Five Armies? What? So good.
That's true. Yeah, no, Tom's definitely the list you agree with most. I could see that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's get going.
Hello, this is Oliver, and today I'm going to be talking about a super creative art game called Canvas. And the things that I like about this game is, number one, the art, like I mentioned at the beginning, is amazing. Like, you can't even, like, just look at the cover of this game. It looks like there's paint strokes on the front of it. It's crazy. The types of art are crazy on all the cards. And just thank you, Canvas, for making such a great art game. Wouldn't it be really cool if Dixit and Canvas collaborated and then you could make your own Dixit card in Dixit? That would be pretty cool. Another thing I like is how you can make your own cards. So there's transparent cards that you put over other cards, and you can make your little art piece. And it's pretty much unique to you, because there's a very low chance of others being able to, like, recreate your image in future games, which I think is pretty cool. Another thing I like is it's not too much of a competitive game. There's a little bit of competitiveness with it, where you can steal people's cards, but other than that, you're kind of keeping to yourself and making your own art pieces, but when that card comes out that someone else wanted, you can snatch it from under their nose. One thing that I kind of dislike, though, is that it's a little too short. I wish it was a little bit longer. Maybe I had a little more time to create my art piece. And it's lacking some depth, but I haven't played all the expansions, so maybe it will change my opinion and maybe even make me like it more. But other than that, I think I have a very positive review of this game. I think it's very great. And yeah, have a great breakfast. Bye.
All right, we are here with another mailbag segment where we get questions from our community on the Dice Tower Discord and have someone read it from the mailbag. So we'll throw it over this side of the room and see who's our mail person this week.
Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and I have a letter to go through over here. Dear Abby, some companies will push out review copies of games long before the game is readily available. As the review is likely the first time many will see these games, does it hurt or help that they can't be acquired or pre-ordered at the time of the review? Mr. Mandar. Well, Mr. Mandar, I think it's a great question, and there's different aspects to get into, and I'll try to keep this to not a 20-minute long answer. I think that there's general best practice, and then there's my own personal perception. And general best practice would say that whenever you are showing people something that they can get, you do want to have something they can do as an action item, which is the first thing I recommend, because I think sometimes the having those things first can be useful, but you still want to have something they can do, and that could be different. It doesn't have to be a pre-order, doesn't have to be buying it. It could be a mailing list. You know, go to this link where you get signed up for a mailing list and a notification, and that way the action is there and then the trigger comes later, because you are trying to build up that hype, that buzz, that presence, but you want to have something that isn't forgotten once the review is seen and done with. So as long as you have a general action, a general anything that you can follow through with, that's usually a good thing. Whether sign up for a Kickstarter notification, a GameFound notification, a mailing list, or whatever it is, that's what I'd recommend first, even if you can't pre-order or buy. Separately from that is a general just thought process of how the space operates. I think it is case by case. I think the board game space very much does have a lot of people who are hyped and excited about things at a given time when that thing is coming out. And so even though there isn't always that immediate thing to be able to do, and this is less data-driven and more personal instincts, even when there isn't that thing you can necessarily do, very often there is a community built up around people who are excited. There's people posting in Facebook groups about that thing they just saw. Someone else comments that, you know, so-and-so Dice Tower just put out a review of that game. People create Facebook pages or join Facebook pages around those games. And so I think as long as the thing that you're trying to follow has a hype and a community that will build around it, I think it's overall a good thing. And then sometimes you watch a review, you can't do anything about it, and by the time it's actually time where you could do something about it, the next thing has your interest, and that thing has a pre-order link. So it's definitely case by case, but it's a great question.
I think it depends on whether or not it gets a good review, honestly. I mean, like, if everybody loves the game, it's going to increase hype for a longer amount of time. If it's a terrible game, no one's going to buy it, because 5 months ago we learned it was a terrible game.
It is interesting because so much content's out there, so many new games are coming out there. How does like one game continue to capture people's like attention, you know? And it is interesting. I mean, obviously, it coinciding with like people actually being able to get the game or the game being available makes it easier for people to go ahead and be like, oh, they say good things about it, let me go ahead and add to cart, you know? But if it's like, oh, they say good things about it, oh, it's coming to Kickstarter in like 3 months, you know? There's a reason why a lot of the live plays we do right when the game is like launching on Kickstarter. When we do a lot of reviews, it comes out when the game is like available for people to buy. But it is good for us to get a little bit ahead of it. I think it's important because I've had situations before I even worked for the Dice Tower where I was like, that game looks good, it was announced, but there was no review for it. I'm like, I like the designers, I like the team, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna pre-order it. And then I got the game, and then I saw the reviews, and I was like, I tried to play the game. I agreed with the reviewers. It was not that good of a game. And I was like, but the designers, but the publishing team, it was supposed to be amazing. And I really wish I had a review before I had an opportunity to buy it, so that way I could make an informed decision on my purchase. And that's really what we do here at the Dice Tower, is try to help people make those informed decisions.
Yeah, as someone who, it's you know, an interesting, used to be a Dice Tower fan.
Right.
And now I'm clearly not.
Wait, what? You're a fan of some of our contributors more than others.
Now I'm an inside
Where's
man.
the meme of us kicking you off the skyscraper?
Yeah. No, so I used to be a big Dice Tower fan, and now working here, you know, I would have those thoughts of like, why doesn't the Dice Tower just review games closer to when they're actually out? I remember watching Tom's review of Ethnos months before the game came out. You know, and now working on this side of things, I see like, well, first off, we have a backlog room of like several hundred games.
There just comes points where in the year Tom's like, I'm never getting to all of these games. Here, Wendy, get rid of them.
Right.
Send them to all of our other reviewers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right, and then sometimes games come in and we're like, hey, this one looks good, let's give it a try. Hey, we played it. A bunch of us are excited to talk about it, whether good or bad. We're invested in doing a review on it. And we can't, with the number of videos that we put out a week, we can't just go check every single company's website and be like, oh, it's not coming out till November. I didn't know that.
That's the interesting thing is like sometimes we get a game in, we're like, oh, that's a game that would be cool. We play the game, we review the game, and we don't know when the game is exactly coming out. It could have been coming out right then. It could be coming out a month later. Sometimes the publisher that we're reviewing the game for doesn't know when the game is coming out. They airshipped it over. They're hoping their shipment from China is coming over, but they can't even get a ship to send it on yet, so it gets delayed. So it's like, it's hard with all of the timing stuff and to get that stuff exactly accurate. But the main thing is like, we want to have a thing out there that gives people the information to make that decision, you know? If there is it, and then when you see a game on the shelf, you can look it up and like, oh, the Dice Tower has a video on it. Oh, they did this thing on it. So that way you can be like, is this something that would fit with me? And it might be an amazing game, but it might not be an amazing game for you, you know?
And that's actually one of the main reasons why we have that Encore channel that we're doing all those like little reviews for, is because we want those games to be searchable. Some are great, some are terrible, and having, you know, an individual video for all of those games, they just would never get covered.
Right.
And so the Encore channel lets us cover those things.
And at least you can see a snippet of like Wendy's opinion on the game. And if you really align with Wendy, it's like, oh, I like the same games Wendy likes, and Wendy loved this one. I should look into it.
You like the same games as me, Roy?
No, I was talking about them, not me.
Aww.
Definitely them. Definitely not me.
The hypothetical beige people in the world.
Listen, I like to
Beige
sometimes,
lovers.
you know how I like to abstract and get into fantasy worlds? Us liking the same games as a fantasy world.
That'll be your next D&D character. Will be a Eurogamer.
I like wearing color.
See, I have ethics and morals, you know?
I like a point that I think it was Kevin said in the chat earlier. He said he really likes Stonemaier Games' model for that. Right?
Yeah.
They announced a game and they're like, pre-orders are open in like 3 minutes. So, you know, and then the game will come out 2 months later, 1 month later for their like
so
Stonemaier
good. Their
champions.
brand is amazing. And I mean, I was actually talking about this on my previous podcast. It was like the fact that that like Stonemaier just has that capital to be able to make that happen. A lot of publishers are like, oh, we have to have the money up front or we can't afford to make the game, you know?
Right.
And Stonemeier's like, we got the money. We made all the games. They're sitting in a warehouse. You give us money right now, we'll ship it to you know? Which is amazing for the consumer. And their brand is huge and amazing. And the good thing is like a lot of their games are solid. So yeah, Stonemaier is like hard to beat.
Well, they also have the fan base. Like a lot of Kickstarters are just trying to get that information out there.
Right.
And they're like, in this month, we're doing so much with other channels, other whatever, like just trying to get people to even know about the game.
A lot of publishers don't know how many copies of a game to make because they'll make a game they think is going to be hot and it sells a few copies.
Right.
And honestly, that game might be amazing. It just didn't hit the right channels or it didn't take off the way they wanted to. And then sometimes they might make a few games because they're like, the last game we got burned on, let's try this one. And then they make a few copies, and then it sells out like crazy, and they can't get it back on the shelf, like Heat and things like that. You know?
Right.
So,
Well, and that was Wingspan, where that was the issue, is that he was printing off a few thousand at a time. His initial print run was maybe 10 or 20,000, I think, and that one happened to be flying off the shelves. He printed 20,000 copies of Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and he is still selling that initial print run.
Right.
Right. Like he's taking a risk the way that he does it. But because Stonemaier is a boutique enough of a publisher with a strong fan base, that model works. I understand that Rio Grande Games couldn't necessarily do the same thing that Stonemaier Games does, nor should they.
And it's interesting, if you have a game that is just so extremely hot, it can still help float your games that are not necessarily as much and be like, oh, well, I guess we're going to be able to have the storage space for this game for a minute, you know, just behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, so we try, you know, we generally speaking try to review a game when it's more relevant, but yeah, because I know that it's a bad thing as a consumer to see a game that you're so excited about, see the good reviews for, and you're like, I want to buy it when it comes out, and then 6 months later, you kind of forgot, and you're now excited about a newer shiny toy thing that's coming out. But yeah, I like your point that, you know what, the review's still there, though.
Right, for sure.
And when that game does come out, you can look back and say, hey, the Dice Tower reviewed this 4 months ago. Hey, they had glowing things to say about it.
We have a search bar. You can type in, you know, you don't have to watch just what's on your subscription feed. You can type in and find the previous ones.
Yep.
Yeah, BGG also lists all the videos and reviews that have been connected to, which is nice.
Yep.
It's a good era to live in.
It is. It
There
really
you go.
is.
Yeah, BGG does a lot. Board Game Geek does a lot. Hopefully we do a lot. Make those informed decisions.
That's for sure.
All right, folks. Well, it sounds like that's been Board Game Breakfast.
It has been Board Game Breakfast.
The kickoff to this week. Speaking of Wormspan, there might be a review forthcoming of some of those, you know, that.
There's a Catch-A-Palooza today, right?
Catch-A-Palooza today live at 1 o'clock. We're going to be playing the ever-hot Bitter Up.
Bitter Up.
This is kind of a board game version of Z's, one of the games from Z's Top 100 list, You're Bluffing. So, excited to check that one out.
The whole stream is a bluff. It's not actually going to happen.
It's a lie.
No, I'm just kidding.
That'd be
We're in the
bold.
Matrix.
Yeah.
We just delay it an hour every single hour.
Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Roy Kennedy.
And have fun eating breakfast and playing games.
Blintzes!